and welcome to Oscilloscope. It's the first one of 2021, which is lovely. And we are joined by Vinca Power, who is over there, and I managed to point in the right direction, who's co-hosting it with us tonight. So Vinca is presents an actual proper radio show, focusing on the more kind of pop and that sort of side of electronic dance music. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's dance music, anything that's got a bit of a beat that can get you dancing. So anything from disco all the way through to techno. But I don't usually wander into the realm that we're going to be exploring this evening. So this is exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to have you along, and it really should be quite an exciting one this evening because, yeah, it's a new year and it's all those sort of things. We've got work by 5 artists, some of whom, if you are familiar with watching some of these, you may well know, and some of whom are brand new for here. So that's great. Hey, there's already Robert Jackson saying hi, Vinca, and hi to me. Yes. Oh, that's a very good point, saying hi, Ed. My name is Ed Wright, and yeah, this is Oscilloscope, so that's probably a bit of an oversight. So yeah, for any of you who've not tuned in before, it's basically an evening of experimental electronic music. Back in the day, we all used to do this sort of once a month in North Wales, get together, make some noise, and allow composers and artists the space to experiment and do their thing. The UK is still in lockdown, so we can't. But luckily, due to the wonder that is the internet, we are here and streaming, and that's brilliant. So yeah, I understand as well, Vinca. Do you write about architecture as well?
Yeah, I write and I edit for a couple of magazines. So one's about printmaking, so all focused on the art world, and the other one is quite niche. It's called The Modernist, and it's celebrating all things mid-century, but with a bit of a focus on architecture.
Oh wow, that sounds fascinating. So when you say mid-century, presumably is that sort of 1930s to sort of around that sort of 30s to 60s sort of era, or are we...
Yeah, there is a big appreciation of concrete, so it stretches far into the 80s. So I think, it's a big bracket, mid-century.
Okay, that's a fairly nice wide target to aim for, isn't it? That's brilliant. Okay, so yeah, hopefully you can keep us on track with interesting arty things, and I don't geek out too much about too much electronic and technical music-y things, because whilst there are some people out there who I'm sure really like that, there are some people who that probably gets far too nerdy for. So feel free to jump in and ask and do stuff. So without further ado, that brings us up to a piece by the first artist that we have tonight, who's James Malone, who way back in the day before Christmas, or a few events before Christmas, he was originally supposed to be doing a piece for us, but life and 2020 and all of those things kind of got in the way. So it's really nice to have him here with us to chat about his piece afterwards, and hopefully we can play it in a few minutes. For those of you out there in internet land, if you've got any comments or queries about the piece, or just want to say thank you very much, James, stick it in the comments. We've got Rob and Charles behind the scenes who are going to help, like, put it up along the bottom, as you can see people bit there at the bottom now from Jay. So yeah, we'll try and put those to James after we've heard it. So without further ado, James Malone.
Thank you.
There we are. Thank you very much, James. Yeah, what a piece to kick us off with. That was really, really impressive. Thank you. As Glyn says there, intense stuff. I would really kind of echo that. That was
Definitely.
yeah. I mean, yeah. So Vinca, anything you want to ask before I wade in?
Well, doesn't that just sum up what's going on at the minute? I've written down confused, anxious, helpless, clawing at the walls, and don't know when it's going to end. It's that very claustrophobic feeling that I've got at the minute, and I'm sure everybody else has got. It started off quite passive, in the beginning, my parents are sound healers, and it reminded me a bit of being at a sound healing experience, and the soundscape and journeying, and the visuals went in with that, almost like, you know, when you cut crystal in half, almost that kind of feel.
Sure,
quite serene to start off with, but then you flipped it.
I mean, it makes a lot of sense that you'd feel that way about it, I think, because it was made from edits of recordings I made in the first lockdown. So I guess there was a lot of that sort of feeling going on, which definitely translates into the piece. Yeah. The material itself that I was working with is quite tense, I suppose.
Yeah, definitely. What's the name of the piece?
I don't actually have a name for it at the moment.
Untitled.
There we are. That's easy.
Well, I think too, as my first little dip into this world, you got my heart racing.
I think that's good.
Yeah, no, I totally second that. That was a really intriguing piece. I mean, it did make me feel quite on edge, but definitely in a really good way. I mean, I was wondering, I mean, sort of listening to it, and I was sort of listening and watching it as well, and trying to figure out, you know, is this all sort of synthesized in one thing? Is it together, or is the audio triggering the visual, or vice versa? And then you actually start mentioning about it being made from recordings in the first lockdown, and I'm sort of trying to figure out, is it some sort of process thing, or is it synthesized? I mean, what was your way of creating it? You know,
all of the above, really. I was sort of working. I was really interested in feedback. Well, I always am, but in the first lockdown, I was making these things with my synthesizer that would sort of play themselves, and setting up two distinct systems that would then interact and influence each other. And so I just had a folder full of these, which I was really happy with, but didn't know what to do with. And then in the second lockdown, I decided to start putting them together into something. And so I processed a lot of them with various software like Max MSP, Reactor, things like that. And then I put them all together in a project on my computer and just arranged it. And then the video is basically just influenced by the audio. It just speeds up and slows down depending on certain parameters. It's quite simple. But the video is visual feedback, just pointing my camera at my screen, running it through various effects, and then playing with lights.
Well, that's really interesting, because I've also written down here that when it starts to go all glitchy and erratic, it almost got a feel of film burning or acetate melting. Yeah. So it's quite interesting that that's come from digital photography effects.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I mean, I'm intrigued, because I really did feel as well. It's amazing the power of suggestion with like the different sections and different rhythms and the glitchy stuff. How much that actually fitted in with what was going on with the sound. As soon as you mentioned processing it in Max, my brain just instantly went, "Oh right," and the video's done in jitter, and there we are, sort of thing. But evidently not by the sound of it.
It was done with jitter, but
extra brownie points to me.
Jitter in the middle of the feedback loop. Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, it's really nice how it it works. Really. Okay, JJ, is there an ambisonic encoding?
No, it's all just basic stereo panning in Logic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean that's one thing that really stood out to me, is how sort of aggressively panned it is, especially towards the end. Charles is behind the scenes, so it feels like it's attacking him almost. I mean, it almost felt like there's two separate channels going on left and right, rather than the left-right balance. It felt like there was almost one track going on one side and
so
complementing it going on the other.
that was happening at the end.
Sorry.
So I had no. I mean, I had those two distinct sort of feedback systems set up, and they were influencing each other, and then they were panned hard left and right. So that's exactly what you're hearing. Yeah.
Wow. In which case, thank you very much. That was really effective.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
There's one from Matt Reese Roberts. Nice to be taken out of my comfort zone with that one. So yeah, it seems there's a lot of love coming through on that. Is there anywhere where people can go and have a listen to any more of your stuff, or do you, under normal circumstances, do you perform live out there and things?
Yeah, before all this happened, I was performing live, improvised gigs with my synthesizer, and yeah, my website's down below. That's where everything is, really.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah. Expect more now that I'm not playing gigs, so I'm spending a lot of time writing. So
how are you finding all of this is influencing your process? Are you stagnating, or are you finding more time to dive into it?
It's gone in waves. When it first happened, I really jumped into my music and sort of did too much and kind of burnt out a little bit, actually. But along the way, I adapted to not being able to perform or not being able to collaborate in person with people. And so I started sending files back and forth with friends, and we'd work on recordings and send them back and forth. And I got much more into the idea of just, working from home and composing, basically. It's kind of gone up and down. I have bursts of creativity and then bursts of just nothing.
Has that process of sending things backwards and forwards, has that changed the end product? Is that
so I should be clear, that didn't happen with these recordings in particular, but that's changed how I've thought about collaboration. I guess that's kind of just relevant to lockdown and creative process generally.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add, James?
Not really. No.
Not really. Okay. In which case, it's been an absolute pleasure having you here, and it's really nice to hear and see your piece as well. So I hope you'll be able to join us in the kind of chill out Zoom afterwards, and just chill out and Zoom afterwards and enjoy the rest of the show. So
I will do.
Thank you very,
much.
very much. That's a brilliant start. So James Malone. I really enjoyed that. I felt like that really went somewhere else. I don't know. I don't know if "enjoyed" is quite the right word, but it was really powerful. So that was great. Next up, we have Carl Anderson, under the guise of Nil by Nose, which he's got a piece which he did for us, and there's an introductory title on it. I will not witter on anymore because it's all there and it's quite an experience, and hopefully we'll have him on afterwards. I know he's been having a few issues with his internet this evening, but hopefully we'll get to chat to him afterwards. And so Nil by Nose, everybody. What an amazing piece. Thank you very much. You know, that was immensely enjoyable in its own wonderfully sort of idiosyncratic way. So, yeah. So, Vinca, do you want to start? Or should I start? Or?
Yeah, no, I'll jump in with my observations and then ask the technical questions.
Yeah.
I found that to be really joyful. It reminded me of being in a toy shop. It was lovely. It took me back to childhood. It was it was really nice, and I really enjoyed the bit at the end where it was like the reel-to-reel tape just spinning and flapping. I thought it was lovely, and I really enjoyed all the incidental extras that you had in your video, especially the lady with the poo bag who walked past.
Yeah, well, I'd say the box that I used, it picks up sounds and loops it, and I wanted to catch all the sort of like stuff of the park happening and just building up the textures and stuff like that. And I like the poo bag I was like, brilliant, I got a poo bag halfway through it. It's like,
so that kind of almost answers one of the questions that I had in my mind watching it. So I mean, how much of that is, and the looping of that is actually in the box there and live at that moment, and how much is sort of tweaked in the studio afterwards? Because it felt like there was a fair amount of it was happening at the time.
It was all happening then.
Brilliant.
This it's a Gecko loop synth, which just a little synth like that. And last year, one of my New Year's resolutions was to not buy any music equipment. I knew I was making that New Year's resolution. So on the 31st of December, I sent off for the loop synth. So I've been sort of like playing with that quite a lot, and it's got lots of different settings, but I really enjoy the looping one where you can just pick up sounds and sort of build up textures, and you can manipulate things. And you know, originally, when I'd asked to do this, I was thinking, yeah, I've got a plan. I'll do the loop synth. I'm going to go to this bus shelter where local youths smoke jazz cigarettes, and I was going to make a loop in there with this, and you can have electronic stuff going in. So I was going to have the sound of the bus shelter and electronic stuff. And I was thinking, no, it's just too much. Just strip it right back and just have something really nice and sort of like a bit more open air. And also I was scared of the youths.
I mean, that's kind of what struck me about it, and that sort of interaction with the outside world. It was really nice. It's not often that you actually see bits of people being creative at the moment that's so obviously influenced by this whole kind of lockdown culture sort of thing. They would get to go out for however long and sit on a park bench by ourselves, and there's the world outside. But it's actually really rare that you sort of see something like that that's actually so fun and makes you smile, which is really quite cool. I utterly enjoyed that, you know. So yeah, I mean, how much confidence did that take to actually go and do like that?
Well, that's part of the reason why I wear a mask. It's the art of misdirection. It's rather than people looking at me, they're looking at me in my costume. So they're not actually looking at me. And it's a very interesting experience performing wearing a mask. Before the ongoing situation started, I had planned to do a gig in Brighton where the audience are also going to be masked, because there's this really strange thing with performing wearing a mask where you know you're performing and you're doing something out, but because you've got the mask on, it kind of feels really insular, that even though you're performing to an audience, you're in your own little world, and it's a lot easier for me when I'm improvising to be in my own little world. And it also covers up my face of like my expressions ranging from, oh shit, this isn't going right, to me laughing my head off of going, I'm getting away with this, you know, and everything in between. I'd recommend any performer to give a go at performing masked, because it feels very different, and I think different stuff comes out from wearing the mask.
So you said that you, when you're improvising, was that piece improvised on the spot, or did you have a bit of a plan for what you were going to do?
I knew what I had in my pockets, and I had a very rough idea. I wanted it quite kind of loose, and with that kind of thing, it's all too easy to end up in like a wall of noise. So, you know, I kept having to tell myself, sit there with your hands, count to 10, let it breathe just for a while, let it breathe. So there's kind of rough ideas. And like I was saying, I've been, you know, during the lockdowns, I've been experimenting quite a lot with it. So there was various bits that I thought, oh yeah, that's interesting, I'll have to kind of remember that, and just remembering to let it breathe was quite an important thing for it, particularly as I'm outdoors.
It's almost like an exercise in mindfulness, which we're all being told that we should practice at the moment.
Yeah. I think you know, well, like I was saying, originally I was going to take the box and some sort of like small electronic things and have the outside sound, and I just thought, no, it's just cluttering everything up too much. It has given me an idea for another piece that I'm going to do, but we'll see when I get round to that.
Oh, that's brilliant. So thank you very, very much. I mean, we've got the Bandcamp going along the bottom. If people want to go and listen to any more of your work, is there anything else, any other links, or are you gigging anywhere in the world at some point, or?
Hopefully, between Worthing and Brighton, I gig.
Okay, so that's roughly where people can find you.
Yeah, and you know, on YouTube as well, and the usual Facebook places and stuff like that. And
okay,
it's there's quite lots of people. One of the things I think the last person touched on it. I think one of the interesting things about the lockdown is it's given people an opportunity to collaborate a lot more, because we've got this great internet. One of my favorite things about the internet is the ability to collaborate with people you've never met at all, and you know, just by sending a file off to someone and suddenly you get something back. It's absolutely a lovely thing. So yeah, during the lockdown I've been collaborating with various different people, doing different stuff and having fun.
Yeah, it's brilliant. It's been great to have you on board, and thank you so much. Look forward to hearing more of you in the future.
Oh, thank you.
So thank you very, very much, Neil by Nose, otherwise known as Carl Anderson. So thank you so much. That was really cool. That really does prove one of those sort of less is more, and actually, not judging books by their covers and all those things, I guess. You know, I really enjoyed that.
Such a difference from the first one as well.
Absolutely, it's lovely how diverse some of this stuff can be, and that really does just go to prove it. So whilst we're at a slight break, I should perhaps mention that we're all doing this. Everybody's devoting their time and their efforts for free, including Vinca, which is great. Thank you very, very much. If you do, by any chance, have a penny to keep the lights on and the computers running for all of the team, if you don't mind going to coffee.com/oscilloscope, and you can chuck a penny in the pot and buy us all a coffee if you fancy. It really does only go towards upkeep for this digital studio and making sure there's actually computers to do this at the end of the day. If you can't, don't worry. If you can, that would be massively appreciated. So, without further ado, because that always feels horribly awkward and I don't like doing it, although it is hugely appreciated. Next up, we have a returning artist, the first one that we've had today, and indeed the first returning artist of the new year, obviously. So we have Glyn Roberts as Frood, and again, it's actually an outdoor kind of thing, which weirdly for electronic musicians is sometimes a bit challenging because of the sheer logistics of it, and also because at this time of year none of us really want to get stuff wet, so it's quite intriguing having two things one after the other. So yeah, without further ado, unless you've got anything to add, Vinca.
No, I'm keen to hear it. I'm enjoying all of these different elements of the places that people are inhabiting and the sense of space that's being brought with the music and the video. So yeah.
Yeah, totally, actually. Yeah. So without further ado, Glyn Roberts as Frood. Fantastic, Glyn. Thank you so much. I mean, that was just a really nice blend between feeling absolutely brutal and yet with the stuff zoomed in on your fingers and things, also felt really delicate and playful as well at the same time, which is it's a tricky balance to get. So well done. I thoroughly enjoyed that. You know.
Well, yeah, I mean, with the modular for about over a year, so probably 18 months, I've been sort of working with the modular, and I just felt it was time to sort of go outside. Hence the untethered word I put on the screen. I thought it's nice to do something outside. So this was my just first attempt, and it was interesting with sort of what worked, what didn't work. At the beginning, I was feeling that it needs to be in more of a disused building or something. It didn't feel. It felt like it belonged to a closed space as opposed to an open space. So, but then sort of I got into the groove and things, and I've got my headphones. They were broken beforehand, but I'm really intrigued with different ways of inputting audio in, or sort of using a loudspeaker as a microphone, and I should like playing around with that sort of thing. And then here's my modular, the portable one.
Yep.
So easy said and done with running it off the power supply. I got this from sort of a junk shop. It's an old video battery, but it runs off 12 volts. Unfortunately, this runs off 15. So that was a bit of a problem. So I thought, what the hell am I going to do? And then I realized that I'm a videographer. So I've got my Sony camera, and I looked at the back here, and lo and behold, on the battery, it's got these D-tap connectors.
Yeah.
And then it runs up to 17 volts. So this is what I used to power this. So now I can go and, to the fantastic Welsh countryside and actually do some gigs. I'm planning to do a little bit when the lockdown eases, down in Splot Beach. There's a great beach in Cardiff. Not many people know about it.
They do now.
They do now.
Oh, they do now, yes. All the hundreds of thousands of people watching this now.
Absolutely,
yes.
yeah. Don't knock the people in internet land.
Right. So Oscilloscope is a beautiful place. It's got about 100 years ago or more, they used to use it as a dumping ground for unused bricks. So consequently, those bricks have really washed up and sort of smoothed off. So it's quite a thing. So I want to do a bit of a sort of performance there, but sort of just get the right modules in the box. But yeah, I think that kind of worked, because I was a bit worried saying that the quality is fantastic tonight. I'm really sort of impressed with it. There's so much good stuff there. So I was sort of looking at saying, all right, it's my stuff is okay. But yeah, so I had a bit of fun with that. I'm sort of toying with being outside doing stuff for a while, because but it's nice to be running off a battery as opposed to mains.
So you're fully mobile.
Fully mobile, because I've got lots of bits and bobs. I'm a bit of a collector with stuff. So I've got my pride and joy here, my Lyra 8, but this one does run off that video battery. So, but I'm a big fan of this. But,
when you hold up the Lyra 8 and say this one, are you implying that you have more than one Lyra 8?
Oh no, I've only got.
I was going to say.
No, only the one Lyra 8. I do like my gear, but I'm trying. What I'm doing at the moment, I'm reading this.
Yes, I keep meaning to try and get hold of a copy.
I had it as a Christmas present, and
nice.
I'm finding it really useful with sort of understanding a bit more, because it's been written for beginners and experts, so you can really dip in, and it's not patronizing, and it's a recommended read. It's quite expensive, but I had it as a Christmas present.
That's the only reason why I haven't bought myself a copy yet as well.
I know. Yeah, so basically, sort of, I do like destroying things. So I've got a few videos on Instagram and stuff where I like destroying things to make sounds. So I think I'm a bit sort of do you know when samplers first came out, there was that sort of people just used to sample broken glass. So I'm a bit like that. I go for the jugular of the really upfront stuff. So I don't tend to do subtleties. I like to sort of break things and make them just make big noises and stuff. Because I used to be a sound engineer, so I'm really fascinated with how sound works and sort of. And as I mentioned earlier, I felt that the sound I was having at the beginning really didn't suit the space. I think it'd be nicer to reflect the space more than what I did. And so I have a plan. Oh, up a day, please. And my plan is to go to a forest with my dictaphone, well, one of my dictaphones, and then sort of record myself walking through a forest and then setting up and then playing this through the Lyra 8, Soma Lyra 8, because that's it's got fantastic feedback delay thing. So that's a piece I've got when the weather gets better. Because when I was filming this earlier, well, it was last week. Oh my God, it was cold. It was about 4 degrees. So it was mercifully sort of. It was only about 12 minutes long. So I had to go. I had to have a cough after that because it was quite cold.
Yeah, you've got to be able to move your fingers enough to do the pots.
I know. Sort of, I am feeling a bit sort of feeling more connected to the modular. And another thing with having just one strip is it's less to think about. So just choose the modules wisely, and the sound I was using with the cloud bit, that was the sound coming through the clouds was the actual headphones clacking together. And I was using quite a lot of the Schlappy Engineering 100 grit. As you can see, I do like my gear, and the Endorphins Milky Way was giving that big wash, which really worked well. I think when I sort of turned up the wash halfway through, that sort of kind of worked for me.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, Vinca, I'm very aware that well, Glyn's been in full flow, and I've also been bouncing off him. Anything you want to ask or say or comment, or
it was
any stuff that's popped up?
I really enjoyed the physicality of it. I loved how into it you were. It was just so fun to watch because you looked like you were having so much fun.
Well, I move about a lot more when I do gigs. I do move about quite a bit. Sort of, I always go into the audience. I leave something playing on the stage, and then I go into the audience with something sonic that makes a noise. You know, a big bell, or I've got this. Like a cowbell. So yes, so thank you for that. I do like to let the music make me move. Yeah, I really like that sort of the connection of the sounds makes you the sound make you want to sort of move in a specific way. But yeah, well, thanks for picking up that because I didn't feel I was moving hardly any with this because it was so cold.
Yeah.
Oh dear, yes. And well, I suppose now you've set a precedent, haven't you, in that you can actually not be attached to the mains. So I guess moving around is all the more on the cards now.
Yes, you totally untether. So I do plan to make at least film myself at least once a month. So to do stuff. So what I might do is I might do a little bits and then I could edit them together and not release them all as a one finished piece. So I might sort of do bits there, and then sort of put them together. We'll see.
I've got this strange image of you in the future. I've got this strange imagination of you in the future in my head, with the Eurorack skiff that you had on the power supply, somehow charging off with one of those things like they used to have for selling the ice creams in the theatres on the front, for complete portability.
And that is on my list of things I want to do with the Soma. Actually, the Soma Lyrate, I do.
Yes, that would work.
So you just need something to hold it apart. So it would need something like that. But
Yes.
But yes, that is something that's on my list.
Oh, brilliant!
But it's heavy. That's true, and the battery's heavy as well. But I shouldn't complain. It'd be quite fun, wouldn't it?
It would be amazing fun. Yeah. And in truth, it has been amazing fun. And thank you so much. I'm afraid we're going to have to move on a little bit because otherwise we really could stay chatting here all night. And
well, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure. It's great. And sort of
I mean, it's really great. And hopefully you can join us in Zoom afterwards amongst us. And there have been some amazing comments and things coming in, and I hope you get a chance to have a flick back through and have a look at them. Because I've not really had a chance to shout many of them out to. Oh, that, however, is lovely from Dave Julian. I was in a bad mood until I started to watch this episode. So yeah,
let's hope he's not in a worse mood now. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. Oh yeah, it didn't say it got better, did it? Oh, I didn't thought about that. Oh well, hey. Anyway, Glyn, Frood, thank you so much. Wonderful performance.
Yeah, thanks. Nice to meet you, Vinca.
Thank you. Speak to you soon. So that was that was amazingly energetic and fun, and I liked that. And carrying on, what appears to now be turning into a bit of a theme of outsideness, we have another piece which is actually outside. It's amazing, actually, how you take a few pieces and almost by law of averages, you kind of extrapolate some sort of theme out of it as these nights go on, which is really quite cool. And it's a piece by, and I will try not to murder her name, Rushania Nizamutdinova. I apologize if I've got that wrong. It was meant with the best of intentions. Who has did a piece for us back in 2017 when we're all in the real world and in the greenhouse in Bangor in North Wales. And it's really nice to welcome her back. It's a piece that electroacoustic acousmatic piece, and with a choreographed film that goes with it. And she's going to come on and have a chat afterwards, and possibly the choreographer as well. We don't quite know. But yeah, so that would be hopefully quite exciting and carrying on the random serendipity of a theme, I guess. So I will go with the first name. So Rushania.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rashanya. What an amazing piece. And yeah, I understand you're with us from Russia right now.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So it's probably quite late for you there, is it? Or is it quite late in the day for you?
Yes, it is night here.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for staying up and being a part of this. It's a great piece.
It is very interesting event, so I will stay.
Oh, thank you. Vinca, do you want to start?
Yeah, I thought there was quite a sinister undertone. Like maybe these elves aren't benevolent. Maybe they've got bad intentions for us. And yeah, I thought that was quite interesting because the title, the Elvish Forest, it inspires kind of cute little elves, but that's not what the music was giving us.
I can tell some about the plot of this music. I read The Legend of Beren and Luthien of Tolkien and prepared to write series of pieces. This composition illustrates the forest Neldareth and the voices of wonderful beings, very bright and magical. The plot of the story is about something wonderful, about the victory of light, feelings over fear, about the achievement of the unattainable. In the music, I am trying to touch the image of elves when a hero from the world of fear, very tired and disappointed, gets into the magic forest. For the first time, he hears singing, and behind the trees sees images of elves. I've tried to write the voices of magic birds, animals, the effulgence. Landscapes are changing. They become more beautiful because he gets into a closed kingdom, Neldareth and Doriath, and his internal state is changing too. So this short description of my emotions and inspiration of this legend.
No, that's really beautiful. Thank you. And I agree. It sounds, a lot of what I heard in it sounded like there was things coming out from between the trees. There were these little sort of twinkly sounds almost that came through. And there's one question that's come up on the comments. What was actually the source of the sounds? Is it, there's a question mark from Jay saying, is it sea sound? I don't know. I mean, how did you create those sounds?
I used 5 different programs and programming environments. I changed frequencies, used time stretch. I was working with overtones of strings and created an electronic timbres by combining the oscillators, by programming, etc. I used different techniques and combined them in one piece to make such a picture. I had also 6-channel and 8-channel versions of this music, and I hope it will be performed in a multi-channel space in any time.
That's one thing that's really sad about this sort of format, isn't it? That we can only do stereo like this sort of, and there are so many works that are 8, 16, even sort of 32, 64 channel, and we're stuck going,
But quality of the frequencies was very great. Thank you for this sound.
Oh,
It
thank
was,
you. Thank you very much
yes.
to Charles in the background for that, Yeah, sorry, I've just butted in. So, Vinca, anything else you want to?
Yeah, I was wondering, was the music inspired by the film, or was the film a response to the music?
Oh, it's very interesting history because I was a part of performances festival. I would like to tell many thanks to Liz Naugel and Joe Crawford from United States. Lisa made dance performance as a choreographer, and John made a video and visual effects by my music. They inspired by my music and made such masterful visual picture. It was performed at their virtual festival in December, and this was a European premiere at Oscilloscope today. So,
Wow!
yes.
Oh, thank you so much! Yay! Oh, that's really nice to know.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved the was it shot backwards? It must have been shot backwards because you couldn't get your hair flipping in that kind of way if it wasn't shot backwards.
Could you repeat your question, please?
The video looked like it was running backwards rather than forwards.
Excuse me, my English is not so great.
Oh, not to worry.
It's difficult for me.
It doesn't.
No, it's a very, very beautiful piece, and yeah, I think basically what Vinca was asking was how much editing has been done on the video. Is it all just start and then begin and then go through, or are there bits where it goes back round at all, or is it just a straight performance of the dance?
I guess my colleagues use different techniques and they made it for a long time. It was a great and difficult work as my work with combining the instrumental sounds and oscillators, and also I think it was such work in video because they are professors and they are working very well and very difficult.
Absolutely.
I guess so.
I totally agree that it's very effective, both the sound and the video. Yeah, thank you so much. We've got various links for you down there. So the Facebook link, I believe there was a Bandcamp one that went along at some point. Yeah, and if people want to listen to your music, where should they go?
They can go at my SoundCloud or at my website. I can. The links is
Okay.
at my Facebook page, and they can see it. And I would like to tell you that it is a great honor to participate at the Oscilloscope. It's my second Oscilloscope, as you told, and it was inspiration for me a few years ago because it was my first international event, and it is also an inspiration now to listen to so interesting musicians at this event. Many thanks for organizing committee for this opportunity.
Oh no, thank you. That really means a lot. So yeah, thank you, and thank you very much for being part of it. So yeah, great. Take care. Thank you very much. Thank you. So. Wow, I feel all warm and glowy. So yeah, what a lovely thing. So that brings us up towards the end of the event. We have one more track left. just before we do that, probably should say thank you very much to all of the artists, and also especially to Charles and Rob, who've been working behind the scenes making things happen. So before everybody gets to the last bit of music and switches off and we kind of round things up, then probably should say thank you very much to Rob and to Charles, who are somewhere behind this green thing behind me, I guess. And of course, thank you very much to Vinca, who very valiantly and bravely stepped in, and it's been great fun. And thank you for joining in this sort of absolutely wonderful and bonkers ride that's been this evening. So sorry, yeah.
I was just going to say, well, thank you for having me and for making me very welcome, because I was a little bit apprehensive wading into a world that I don't know an awful lot about. But it's, I feel like I've been welcomed with open arms.
Yeah, no, it's been good fun. It's great having you along. That brings us to our last piece of the evening, by Mark Allbrower, who is another returning artist. Those of you who've been watching a few times will, I'm sure, recognise him, and possibly the electric fan that makes an appearance. Might almost be a small running joke. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, so taking us to the end, we have Mark Allbrow, and we'll have a chat with him afterwards. So please do hang around to see what he has to say about his work. So yeah.
very much.
Thank you very, very much, Mark. What an amazing piece. That's somehow seemed strangely organic. I don't know whether this evening has put me in that frame of mind, but there's very much sort of pseudo waves and birds going on in there, which I really quite liked.
Interesting you should say that, because the beginning of this piece was not organic at all. It was basically me trying to get my old TR-606 working again, which I've been meaning to do for ages, and the recent collaboration with Modulate TV folks have really sort of pushed me to get on with it. So the source of that was finally linking that up with an SH-101. Sorry, I'm being a bit technical here. So it's basically a sequence. It's basically triggering an arpeggio, but then I put that through a chaos pad and messed around with it, so it wasn't too not monotonous, but not too wasn't too monotonous, I hope. And then I built stuff around it. So yeah, it was interesting. That's why I found it so interesting that you should say it was organic, because it started with from my point of view, quite a kind of technological and slightly rigid, if you like, beginning. So maybe,
I think I meant more in the kind of especially towards the end, in the actual nature of the sounds themselves. You know, some of them felt a bit like sort of bird sound a bit, and there was definite kind of noise-based thing that sounded like a wave coming in and out a bit. I guess maybe it's the power of suggestion. Maybe like the whole thing.
Towards the end, you mean that was a sort of treated recording of me brushing stuff up from the yard back of the house. So.
Well, it definitely sounded like waves crashing on
it was a bit extreme, but before that there was actually a bit of field recording of the sea at the West Shore the other week actually. Yeah, so that was in there beforehand, but that was a bit gentler, if you like.
So was there a bit of kitchen equipment in there as well? I was getting cutlery and maybe a coffee maker.
Coffee machine, you got that one, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a game of bingo this evening. It really is.
Yeah.
it was almost like a bit of a dystopian cafe at the beginning.
Yeah. I like that sound, so I'm looking for an excuse to use it. So it was well spotted, because I would never have thought, if I'd just heard that randomly, I wouldn't have thought, oh, well, that's a coffee machine.
There's somebody who obviously spends a lot of time near a coffee machine.
And so do you do a lot of field recording? So what is the process of mixing things, real life sounds that have happened in the outside world, and into the stuff that you do in the studio?
Well, it's sort of get a track. Well, you sort of respond to sounds, and then if one's in a position of actually recording it, you record it. So you like collecting them, a bit like taking photos, if you like, audio photos, and then at a later date, you kind of riffle through them and think, well, that's you bin a load and keep the ones that really maintain their impact, I suppose, or they'll still do something for you, and then sort of just draw upon those when they suggest themselves, if you like, depending on whether they go with an electronic sound or not, or they can be an actual jump off point for something else. Or also you could slow them down, a bit like putting something under a magnifying glass, only in an audio way. If you slow a sound down, it can change completely, but like looking through a spectrum, microscope thing, it's completely different. You couldn't possibly imagine what it was. Well, some people can.
The thing I find really interesting about doing that sort of process of field recording is almost a process in itself, because I quite often find field recordings I've done that I'm either not completely satisfied with them, or they sound a bit average or whatnot. Maybe it's that I just don't do enough for the laws of numbers to actually mean there's 5 or 10 really great ones if you've only made 20. But actually the process of it gets you listening so attentively and
Yeah,
picking
it's
up
true.
things that you don't normally perceive as creative sounds. I don't know quite how else to put it, but it's really quite an interesting way of actually working. And I mean, does that have any bearing on the way you put stuff together, or is it?
I think it
literally
must have.
as
I
a
think it
source
must
of
have.
material, or?
I think it must have. I mean, that what you just said sort of relates to because I'm a painter as well. So, that makes you sort of visually aware of stuff. And like you said, stuff that you don't normally look at that hard or appreciate that much. You can look at that hard and appreciate a lot, and you can do the same with audio. But you can't really do it all the time because you can't function if you're doing that, because you're just responding too much all the time. I suppose it must be like being overstimulated in a way, so you can't function normally. So it's sort of doing that, but in doing that, as you say, you could kind of zero in on something. I mean, I don't know if you know Chris Watson's work, sound recordist.
Yes.
But I mean, we go back a long way. Actually, I've known him for a long time. But his work's always been like that. He's always been into it. He hasn't changed that much. But he's just fantastic. He's got all the gear. I remember borrowing a mic from university in Sheffield, and it did make a difference to the quality of the sound. But really, I can't invest thousands of pounds into a microphone just to get that, because the way I work, I just kind of work intuitively, and I'm not, the qualities can sometimes go up and down, and if it's a bit grainy, I kind of use that rather than say, well, I can't use that sound now because I only recorded it on a phone rather than my little unit whose name I can't remember now. So yeah, I just kind of try and get on with it, really.
A really, really effective piece. I mean, there's been some wonderful comments come in.
Yes, very nice things being said.
Oh, great! So you've had a chance to actually see what's been going past.
Well, I had a brief glimpse as they whizzed underneath.
Good.
It's been a great evening of stuff, I have to say. Really,
it has.
Fantastic.
It's been a really quite impressive evening of stuff, hasn't it? I really should actually take the time to run down and say thank you very much to everybody. So obviously there is yourself, Mark. Thank you very, very much for a wonderful piece. And
thank you. Always a pleasure. It's a brilliant thing. Thank you, Ed.
Great to have your continued involvement, really. And
well, it's
working on stuff for the remix project with the Modulate guys as well. And,
I'm really looking forward to all that coming together, and also being able to, for everybody to discuss their approaches and how they did everything. Maybe we can discuss that later.
Yeah, absolutely. So there is Mark there. We've had Roshania before, which was again an astounding piece. I'm not going to keep saying this because everybody's was tonight. There's no two ways about it. We've had Glyn before that as Frood. We've had Carl before that as Nil by Nose, and we've had James Malone before that. And it's been a wonderful evening. We've got Vinca over there, who's been wonderful and really great as a co-host, and it's been lovely to have you along. We've had Charles and Rob in the background helping us all out and making sure things work. If you've got a chance to go to coffee.com/oscilloscope and drop a few pennies in, then that would help to keep the lights going. As ever, don't worry if you can't. It's been a really exciting show. It's been great, fantastic way to kick off the new year. And it's been really fantastic to have you all along. And keep well, take care, I guess. There's some lovely comments going along. And I guess, well, should we all three say bye? We seem to have ended up as the three of us, unless any of you have got anything to add, Any final thoughts of anybody that I've forgotten about?
I really, really loved all of the little snapshots of the experiences that people have been having over the last year or so, and these little glimpses of how people are turning that into a creative output. So thank you for that, everybody.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And yeah, thumbs up from Michael, who I know, if that's Michael, I think it is, has possibly put his name forward for a slot next month, which I know there's a few people doing that. Again, by all means, get in touch on Facebook. And yeah, I think we'll wrap it up there. Those of you who have been performing, there's in our comments on the side, there's a link to Zoom meeting now to chill out, sit back, grab yourself a beer or a packet of crisps or whatever, if you've had your supper or not, or what. Thank you very much, everybody. Keep well. Take care.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.